I am Sean Pendergast. He is Seth Payne. How are you doing this morning, my friend?
I'm miserable, Sean. I'm absolutely miserable. This is, you know why I'm miserable, especially because this is exactly the kind of game where afterwards somebody that expected the Titans to win can very, very easily say, well, what'd you expect? Because really every single thing that I worried about going into this game where I said, hey, this could be a good gauge. Even though the Titans are a bad team, the Titans do some things that the Texans have struggled with, and then boom, shot plays by the offense. Yep, there you go, by the Titans offense.
Yeah.
You know, the defense susceptible to big plays. Got that. All right. Are you able to run the ball versus a team with a physically dominant defensive line? Not even close.
How'd that go?
Not even close.
Yeah.
Lions, Vikings, the Texans have been able to do a single damn thing against them. All of Joe Mixon's powers are rendered moot or mute, whichever one's proper there.
Whichever one is the worst one, yeah, exactly.
Hey, you guys have gotten bitten by injuries before. Have you fixed that? Oh, sure, we got that. No, you don't have that fixed whatsoever. But then the weirdest thing is damn Kymie Fairbairn missing a 28-yard field goal.
Yeah.
That's a record ties a record for 50-plus yard field goals.
Yep, for the season. Yeah.
Am I missing one of the obvious things? I feel like I'm missing one. CJ just not being himself.
Well, and throw in penalties, too, because they had 9 penalties in the second half of this football game, and none of them came at a time, it felt like at least, where the penalties were, somewhat benign. Like, it's a false start at midfield. It's 1st and 15 at our own 45 now. No. You got illegal blindside blocks on the last drive of the game, so you were starting at the 8 instead of the 27-yard line. You were getting holding penalties. There's never a good time for a holding penalty, and this offensive line has holding penalties in it. Back-to-back false starts to turn a 3rd and 6 into a 3rd and 16 at midfield. So I mean, I'll throw you have a nice list. I'll throw the penalties in there with it as well. Like
the procedural stuff, and this is where it all comes back on Bobby Slowick. Look, whenever you're looking at something and it's really hard to define exactly what's wrong with it, hell yeah, blame the manager. You walk into a restaurant and everything's just a little bit off. Like, this is the worst Denny's I've ever been in. Fire the manager.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, I cannot take seeing another Nico Collins huge play called back for something damn procedural.
Right.
Including last week with Laramie Tunsil.
Yes.
Too far downfield. Simple. That's a detail. Fix that. Don't execute like a bunch of slack-jawed idiots out there. You get another Nico Collins back because of illegal motion, 2 men in motion.
Yeah.
All this idiot inning stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose versus the Titans. You're gonna lose.
Lose to the Jags on Sunday if you do this stuff on the road.
Hey, what's this team gonna do in their playoffs? Do you think they'll run up against a team that has good defensive linemen at some point? Hey, do you think they might run up against a team that can kill you with shot plays
yes.
offensively?
Yes.
Where in the playoffs are they going to face a quarterback as good as Will Levis? So 100%. We wondered, okay, how much could you actually learn from a game versus the Titans? We learned a lot. Yeah, they are not ready for prime time.
We did.
They are regressing and getting worse as the season goes along. They've lost 4 of their last 6 games.
Yep.
They're not a good football team.
They're not. And here is the biggest concern for me. This is by far the biggest concern, is that the 2 biggest beacons of hope for this franchise starting last season in training camp were DeMeco Ryans as the head coach and C.J. Stroud as the quarterback. And both, and DeMeco asked us to put it on him in that cut we played in coming in. They are both showing serious flaws right now. I'll start with DeMeco, and this is a big one. I have serious questions right now. There's a lot that comes with DeMeco Ryans that's really, really good. And a lot of it we don't see on a day-to-day basis because it's the rejuvenation of the building and the franchise as a whole. And I acknowledge that those things are important. I think that energy is a lot of what fueled you to getting to 10-7 last year with a very young football team. I acknowledge that is important, and it will be important moving forward. And this is not me bailing on DeMeco Ryans. But I have serious questions. You're talking about, Seth. The list that you had are systemic things that have reared their heads all year long, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. And the solution has been to continue to trot out the same thing every week, the same scheme, the same methodology, the same mentality, the same guys every single week. I have serious questions as to whether DeMeco Ryans is what I'll call a wartime consigliere. You see the movie The Godfather? Remember they fired Tom, the lawyer who was the consigliere, to Vito Corleone because, hey, man, you're a great consigliere when times are good and business is booming. But when things are going a little sideways and you need a little bit more meanness, a little more gumption, a little more got to make some changes here, you're not the right guy. And I'm not saying fire DeMeco Ryans, but what I am saying is there are questions right now as to whether or not he's the right kind of head coach to solve these serious problems that they have right now because there have not been any solutions yet. The only change that's been made is because C.J. Stroud landed on top of Kenyon Green on a play that Kenyon Green screwed up. Other than that, it's the same stuff on the offensive side of the ball. People can point the finger at Bobby Slowick. This is DeMeco Ryans' problem too, and it might even be a bigger DeMeco Ryans' problem now. That's my question. Like, dude, this is the first serious thing you've had to fix with this team since you got it. Last year was a honeymoon. Stuff could go wrong, and we didn't care. People care this year, and I think you're doing a pretty good job as a defensive coordinator. Big plays allowed notwithstanding. By and large, this defense has been very good. The offense has not, and the offense is getting worse, and that goes to the second thing. C.J. Stroud is getting worse. On your watch, the year was outplayed by Will Levis yesterday.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
It wasn't particularly close. You know, CJ's interceptions over the last few weeks have been decidedly non-rookie CJ Stroud interceptions. I think they're ones that he wouldn't have thrown in his rookie season. Yeah, this is spiraling quickly. The only good thing that I heard once yesterday was when Jimmy Ward was on the postgame with you and Clint, and he said, "Hey." And Jimmy's about as honest as it gets. I mean, he was very open about his own bad play early in the game. But just that there's no chatter from guys, you know, whining about this, whining about that, at least not that he's heard. So, like, the core DNA of the team, it's not like it's a bad team full of bad dudes, but they have severe underperformances offensively right now, and none of it's getting better.
No.
And the problem is, when you look at the offensive linemen individually one by one, there are plenty of good teams that have average offensive linemen out there, but who aren't just so routinely getting eviscerated and or making idiotic plays that make it. And they've shown you're not a big physical offensive line. Then you've got to show some level of expertise and scrappiness or what have you in developing an outside zone run game. They do nothing.
This was, of all the things DeMeco said in the post game, I thought he said this one was not one of them. This was not his finest moment as the head coach of this team. Sorry about that. That was not my finest moment as a host. This was not DeMeco's finest moment. He put the game yesterday he put the loss on the defense yesterday.
The concern for me is we need to play complementary football, right? We play complementary football, we win games. When we don't, we're not relying on one side, right, to carry the entire team. So whatever happens, our offense gave us enough points to win the game. So that starts with the defense. We didn't do enough to stop them. We didn't stop the run, and we didn't run the ball well. And we gave up way too many points on defense. So our offense did plenty. They gave us enough points. In defense, we had to be able to stop them.
I was shocked by that. I was shocked. The
offense gave you 20 points.
I was shocked. The offense gave you 20 points. They didn't give you 27. The defense gave you 7 of those. They gave you 20 points. I was shocked. You don't have to point fingers at one side or the other. Like, you can say that both sides, because the defense did some good things. But, yes, ultimately, those back-breaking huge plays count for the defense. I totally understand. Complementary football can be bad complementary football, too. It can be a thing where all sides have failed, including special teams, by the way. Kaimi Fairbairn, last I checked, is a specialist. He shanked a 28-yard field goal. The offense got gifted 10 points, but they got gifted 7 points by Jimmy Ward on a pick six. As far as the points the offense actually scored, they had a one-play drive in the first 15 seconds of the game, thanks to Damian Pierce on an 80-yard kickoff. And then they got gifted a possession on a muffed punt where they managed 4 plays for 7 yards and kicked a 54-yard field goal. Like, that's half the points they scored. The longest, they had a 78-yard drive for a touchdown. Other than that,
Hey,
Best
Sean,
I
was
could
that in
tell,
the first half, perchance?
It was in the first half, Seth.
Yeah, that's when it
I promise
happens.
you it's
Yeah.
not in the second half of any of these games. Other than that, the longest drive they had was a 55-yard drive for a field goal. Like that's
Yeah, I'll tell you another one.
how do you point the finger at the defense as opposed to the offense?
Especially when, my God, is there anything worse than a Texans takeaway on defense these days? Because you can just dial up 3 points at best out of the offense.
Right.
Like, oh, boy, here we go.
Yeah.
Just wait. Oh, we're going to have a 6-play, 9-yard drive somehow because at some point an offensive lineman's going to get penalized.
Yeah.
And, oh, I'll tell you, the most frustrating and infuriating one, this goes on Bobby Slowick and D'Amico, is just simply that 4th and short on your own 40, decide whether to go for it or not. CJ's looking to the sideline for a call.
Yeah.
Instead, you roll
it's a
out.
Clown operation,
you bring the punt team out there, and they take a delay a game.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
It's a clown operation.
What the hell is going on?
Yeah, it's a yesterday. Not over. I mean, look. Yesterday was a clown operation on every level. You lost to the Tennessee Titans and Will Levis at home, and Will Levis pieced you. So, yeah, I'm not sitting here saying, no, it's not. It was the offense, not the defense. It was both.
It was both. Right. The defense, I mean, how many times, as Cody Stutes pointed out this yesterday, like, you're getting to the point now where how many teams have been this weird? You've lost a game where you had 5 interceptions on defense and still managed to lose that. You have 8 sacks yesterday.
7 in the first half. It's 7 in the first half.
8 sacks yesterday and yet got pieced by the guy who had gotten sacked 8 times. Will Levis started off. What was the streak? 11 for 11? Did it go beyond that? I can't even remember.
He was 9 for 9 and 11 for 12 at points that I looked at the box score. Yeah, he was 11 for 12 at halftime. So, yeah, it was when he wasn't getting sacked, he was completing big chunk plays down the field. It was one or the other.